Hi everyone, this is Sam from Booredatwork.com, and today we're taking a look at the Z97N-WiFi edition from Gigabyte. Now, Gigabyte has made this basically micro ATX motherboard. It is LGA 1150, and it's part of the ultra durable line. So let's basically take a look at exactly what you get in the package. Now, in the package here, you do get the motherboard itself, which I'll put to the side, and you get a few other accessories. Now, this is a Wi-Fi, an integrated Wi-Fi motherboard. So we are actually going to have a Wi-Fi antenna. This looks like a pretty solid antenna over here. So that's the Wi-Fi antenna. As you can see, put that aside. You have SATA, just a single SATA cable. Actually, no, let's make that two SATA cables in this pack over here. Put that aside. And you have the back plate. Now, you also have an instruction manual over here. CD for your drivers and your utilities, and also a multi-language guide, as you can see over here. So I'll put the package back together. Put this away. Close it up. And we'll put the box away for now. All right, let's have a look at the motherboard. Now, the motherboard itself is, as I told you, a micro ATX case, a micro ATX motherboard. It's actually designed for, I would say more for giving you a lot more space in your system, but mostly for those, those smaller cases that you would get for, especially a lot of you guys who love to do the LAN parties and get your, your system from one point to the other without logging too much weight. Now, let's go ahead and have a look at exactly what we're seeing here. What we have on the board itself is pretty, it's a pretty kind of stripped down board. We have 2 slots for DIMMs. This is a max of 16 gigs right over here. So you have 2 DIMMs of, I guess, 8 gigs each for each of these, because the max memory for this particular motherboard is 16 gigs. Now you have a slot for your 24-pin power connector. Over here you have a slot for the 4-pin power connector as well. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 SATA ports here, which is pretty impressive. They could fit 6 of these on the board. I would have actually thought you'd probably get maybe 4, but they've utilized the edge as well. You have some USB connections on the board itself. So I'll say for your front panel USBs, you have two USB 2.0s and 2 USB 3.0s on the board here for your front panel. So that's actually pretty useful. Now, let's have a look at, the accessory connections here for your graphics card. So this is going to be your PCIe over here, and you have just a single PCIe slot there. So you are not going to be doing an SLI with this. You're not going to be running an SLI or a Crossfire with this. You're probably going to be using one card, and a card that basically performs adequately to do this. Right off the bat, I would just say, if you're building a system using a board like this, you definitely are going to have compromises. And like I've mentioned, 16 gigs max on here is not really that much of a compromise. But when you start talking about, the amount of graphics cards you can have on there, that's a pretty big compromise, because as much as people will argue the merits of doing an SLI or not doing an SLI, having an extra graphic card in there really does give your system a little bit of an extra oomph to it. So taking that option away really gives you a very limited option when you're when you're looking for graphics card. If you want to push this to the max, you would have to go ahead and get a higher end graphics card, in my opinion. But let's keep going through this the motherboard itself. Now I'm going to basically flip this on the side here so you can have a better view of what we have here. Now, as you can see, we have 2 USB 2.0s over here, as well as a PS/2 connection here. This PS/2 connection is basically, for those of you who haven't seen a PS/2 connection in a while or have forgotten what that is, it's basically what you would connect your keyboard and mouse to back in the old days. So we have one of those in here. Now, as you can see, you have, it's a dual shaded. So right off the bat, you can tell it's going to be either used for your keyboard or your mouse. Back in the old days, olden times for you kids out there, we would have two of these on a PC, one for your keyboard and one for your mouse. I think it used to be green for keyboard or whichever. I don't think the color coding really mattered. But that was the interface before USB for your mouse and keyboard. Now let's get over here. We have a DVI out connection. So that's where you connect your monitor to. You have right here, I forgot to show you earlier, on the card you have your Wi-Fi and Bluetooth 4.0 chip connected to your PCIe X1, the only PCIe X1 slot you have. So that PCIe X1 slot is basically non-existent. Even though you do have it, it's already taken up right away by having a Wi-Fi Bluetooth chip in there. Back to the rear, these are the antenna connections, which I showed you the antenna earlier for the Wi-Fi chip. Now here you have a mini HDMI and a standard HDMI. With the HDMI here, what's really impressive is that you're getting 4K out with these HDMI connections here, so that's pretty impressive. We also have that's four USB 3.0 connections at the rear. These would be two Ethernet connection, one of them being run by an Intel chipset and the other I think by an Atheros or Aether, if I'm correct, but it's a different chipset on this one. So you have two separate chipsets. You have a lot of protection in there to keep, or should I say, you have a lot of a chipset in there that actually prevents a drop off when you're playing, when you're basically playing online with this. So basically, the design of these particular Ethernet jacks is such that you really don't get a significant drop off, or you have a backup, or you work in concert to make sure that your latency levels don't get too high, and basically your connection level stays basically even across your gaming session. So that's actually pretty awesome. You do have your sound inputs here, headphone jack, 5.1 surround sound, your laser, or should I say your optical outs. So that's about it for what you get on the board. This board is going to go into a pretty, I guess, a mini or a micro ATX case, where it's going to have a water-cooled, it's going to be a water-cooled system and things of that nature. Oh, before I forget, let's take a look at this right here, the most important part. Now, this particular board supports both a 4th and 5th generation of Intel's latest chipset. So you should feel comfortable putting, as long as it's LGA 1150, you should be fine. Overall, I think this board is a really good mix between the compromise on size and performance. All in all, I'm really glad it has a Wi-Fi connection in there. The whole idea that I'm gonna be able to basically pick this up, go anywhere, connect Wi-Fi, and be able to play it is really awesome if the build is done correctly. Now, also the idea that you have a board that is this small but doesn't really compromise when it comes to performance. I like that, because you get 16 gigs max memory. That's doable. You have so many connection ports, 4K out on video, a Wi-Fi Ethernet out, 2 Ethernet connection port. That's beyond what you would expect on a board of this size. I think the Gigabyte has definitely got itself a winner here. Going on Newegg, you'll find it for about $139 on Newegg on Amazon. So you can go out there and do your shopping yourself and see what price you come up with. Once again, this has been the Z97N-WiFi from Gigabyte, and this is Sam from Booredatwork.com. Enjoy your entertainment.